Students, I welcome you all for the online class of economics. Today we will be going to learn the next part of the human capital formation. In that we will continue with the problems of human capital in India. Student, what are the problems faced by the Indian human capital are as follows. The very first problem faced by the human capital formation is rising population. Student, as we know, we don't have any control over the population of the country. Rapidly rising population adversely affect the quality of human capital formation in developing countries. It reduces per capita availability of existing facilities. A large population requires huge investment in education and health. This diverts the scarce money to production of human capital at the cost of physical capital. So rising population is a very important problem, student. A large population requires what? Huge investment in education and health centers, which diversifies the scarce money to production of human capital. Long-term process. Yes, definitely human capital is a long-term process, student. The process of human development is a long-term policy because skill formation takes time. The process which produces skilled manpower is just slow. So it is a long-term process. As human development formation is not an easy term. Investment is required, education is required, many things required so that strong human capital can be formed. High regional and gender inequality. Regional and gender inequality lowers the human capital level, student. Has high level gender human capital inequality can be like for example the male and female, that male must only work, female must not work in that and so specified area. Likewise the knowledge is given that and especially backward area and the remote area the people are not so developed. So there the regional and gender inequality is also a human capital is a problem in the human capital formation. Has if all the people will not come together, we cannot form a strong human capital and still the capacity will be lacking. Brain drain. Migration of highly skilled labor termed has brain drain adversely affect the economic development of the country. So brain drain is also a problem in the strong human capital formation. Has people migrate from one place to a rural to urban area so as to get the job. So there the migration of highly skilled labor termed as brain drain adversely affect the economic development. Insufficient on-job training in agriculture. Agriculture sector is neglected and the workers are not given on-the-job training to absorb emerging new technologies. High poverty levels. A large population of the country, proportion of the population lives below the poverty line and do not have access to basic health and educational facilities. A large section of society cannot afford to get higher education or expensive medical treatment for major diseases. So this is a reason, student, why the human capital formation is not done properly because of high poverty levels and everything. Education sector in India. What is education sector, student? Education is important for human capital formation. Education refers to the process of teaching, training and learning, especially in schools or colleges, to improve the knowledge and develop the skills. According to the census 2001, 64% of the population is literate, as against 90% to 95% rate of literacy is the developed countries of the world. So what is education, student? You know very well, education is the information which is imparted in us to have a strong human capital formation. It is needed for the human capital formation. It refers to the process of teaching, learning, training, everything, especially start from the schools and colleges. According to census 2001, 64% of the population is literate now. Earlier it was very less. There is a difference between education and literacy. Education is a much wider concept than the literacy. Literacy refers to the ability to read and write. Education includes three parameters: primary function education, secondary education and tertiary education. While all educated people are literate, all literate people are not necessarily educated. Important objective of education when we will learn. The importance of education are as follows. Very first, it provides good citizens. Definitely, educated people, those who are knowing their good and others' good, will be good, considered as good citizen of the nation. It develops science and technology. We as literate people thinks about the cause and effect relationship and then works. So it helps them develop the science and technology. It facilitates efficient use of natural and human resources. It expands mental horizon of the people. It helps economic development through greater participation of the people in the production process. It promotes rational and scientific thinking of the people. It tends to bring down birth rates, which helps in reducing the population growth rate. Growth in government expenditure on education. Government expenditure on education can be expressed in two ways. Very first has a percentage total government expenditure. The percentage of education expenditure is the total government expenditure indicate the importance of education in the government objectives and policies. As a percentage of gross domestic product, the percentage of education expenditure to GDP expresses how much of our income is being committed to the development of education in the country. So as a percentage of gross domestic product GDP, the percentage of education expenditure to GDP expresses how much of our income is being committed to the development of education in the country. Measures of as a percentage of GDP is a better measure since it sets fixed targets of education expenditure is an important indicator to the importance of education in an economy. They have the following data. During 1952 to 2002, education expenditure as percentage of total government expenditure increased from 7.92% to 13.17% as a percentage of GDP, increased from 0.64 to 4.02. Throughout this period, the increase in education expenditure has not been uniform and they have been irregular rise and fall. Next comes the per capita education expenditure is as high as rupees 3,440 in Lakshadweep to as low as 386 in Bihar. This shows difference in educational opportunities across the states. So the per capita education expenditure itself says that as high as 3,440 in Lakshadweep, it was low as Bihar. So expenditure is not done equally. Because of that, still the human capital formation is lacking. As against the goal of 6% of GDP, which was commented by the Education Commission, the current level is about 4%, which is quite inadequate. In December 2002, Government of India, through the 86 Assessment Amendment of the Constitution of India, made free and compulsory education a fundamental right of all the citizens, children in the age group of 6 to 14 years. The Tapas Majumdar Committee, appointed by the Government of India in 1998, estimated an expenditure of around 1.37 lakh crore over 10 years 1998 to 99, 2006 to 7 to bring all Indian citizens in the age group of 6 to 14 years under the purview of school education. Elementary education takes a major share of total education expenditure, and the share of the higher tertiary education or the higher education institution like colleges, university, etc. is the least. It should be noted that per capita expenditure in tertiary education is higher than that of elementary education. This does not mean that financial resources should be diverted from tertiary industry to elementary education, but as school education is expanded, more teachers are required. Hence, expenditure in all levels of education level is needed to be increased. So it is that though we are seeing not only seeing the expenditure made by in different schools, but we have to see which area more expenditure is needed and which area we can have the same. In the Union Budget 2004 and 5, the Government of India levied a 2% education cess on all union taxes. The estimated revenue of the government from this provision is worth rupees 4,000 to 5,000 crores, and the entire amount is to be spent in financing elementary education. The government sanctioned a large amount for the promotion of higher education. Loan schemes have also been initiated for students desiring higher education. As far as scientific and technical education is concerned, India has become successful in training a good number of scientific and technical manpower. The total number of such manpower has increased from 188,000 in 1950 to 7,840.2 thousand in 2000. Educational achievement in India, when we will see students, generally educational achievement in the country are indicated in terms of adult literacy level, primary education completion rate and youth literacy rate. Growth of education sector in India, source detail has been taken from Economic Survey 2009 and 10. Primary education, how much growth of education sector in India has been done. The Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009 has been passed. It provides free and compulsory education to all the children in the age group of 6 to 14 years, elementary school. In 2009, 96% of children in rural areas are enrolled in schools. Fewer girls of this age group of 11 to 14 years were out of schools. Educationally, background states in India are Bihar, Rajasthan, UP and Arunachal Pradesh. Still, the backwardness is there in that states about the girl child education and the people's boy child education. Main factor responsible for education backwardness is social and economic poverty of the people. Government started many schemes and programs to boost universalization of primary education, like National Program of Midday Meals in School 1995, District Primary Education Program 1994, Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan 2000, Educational Guarantee and Alternative Innovative Education, Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya KGBV, National Program for Education of Girls or Elementary Education. For details of primary education schemes, see Annexure 2. Secondary education, when we talk student, how much expenditure has been done and how much growth has been done, let us see. It serves as a bridge between the primary and higher education and prepares young persons between the age group of 14 to 18 years, 10th and 11th, 12th class, for entry into higher education. In 1950 to 51, there were 7.4 per thousand secondary schools with 1.5 million total enrolled students. In 2006 and 7, the number of schools rose to 168,000 and the number of students went up to 39.4 millions, and now it has been increased much more. And now the population also increased. In 1987-88, Navodaya Vidyalaya were established to give modern education of good standard to talented students of rural areas. Rajnandgaon also we are having a Navodaya Vidyalaya which is giving the modern education of good standard to the students. Presently, 539 Navodaya Vidyalayas schools are functioning. Central government has established Kendriya Vidyalaya for the benefit of the children of transferable employees. Government employees, you know very well, there are transferable jobs. There are not having any fixed place. In that movement, transferable children's education laws is there. So Kendriya Vidyalaya schools are held where wherever the parents will get transferred, the children will get the education from the same class where they left. NCERT was set up in 1981. It functioned as an academic advisor to the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India. The main objective of the NCERT made are to assist and advise the ministry in implementing policies and major programs in the field of school education. NCERT have 5 regional institutes and field offices in major states all over the country. The council conducts, aids, promotes and coordinates research in school education and teacher education and develops, print and distributes textbooks. During the 10th plan, a centrally sponsored scheme, Quality Improvement in Schools, was introduced. It had the following main component: National Population Education Project, Environment Orientation to School Education, Improvement of Science Education in Schools and Promotion of Yoga in Schools. Higher education students, when we talk, as many as 304 universities are providing higher education in the country in 2005 and 6. Of these, there are 20 central universities. Besides, there are 40 deemed to be universities. The total number of colleges in the country in 12,000 is 12,178. The number of students in all universities is 11.61 million. Economic Survey 2008 and 9. University Grants Commission controls and guides higher education. University Grants Commission was established in 1956. It takes measures for promotion and coordination of university education and determination and maintenance of standard in teaching, examination and research in universities, and allocation and disbursement of grants to them. Indira Gandhi National Open University IGNOU was established in September 1985. The basic reason is that some of the people were in between the studies, they had left the studies and they had joined the work. Now they want to continue the particular education also, so as to get more career opportunity, more education. So for them, how they can learn? For that, private institution had been opened, that is IGNOU. It was a great support to many people who were not able to go to schools, because it is an open school where students can get the admission and can continue their studies with their work. It is responsible for the introduction and promotion of open university and distance education system on the educational pattern of the country, and for the coordination and determination of standard in such systems. At present, there are 10 open universities in the country. There are 104 correspondence course institutions imparting education through the distance mode in the conventional system. Technical, medical and agricultural education. The fourth system in education system which was brought was training institutes. In 1951, there were 343 diplomas level polytechnical institutions. Their number has significantly risen to 1,215. These institutions have admission capacity of 2.12 lakh students every year. There are 1,265 recognized engineering colleges running degree level courses in different disciplines. The admission capacity of these courses is 1.86 lakh students per year. There are 185 institutions having postgraduate courses. They admit 70,000 students every year. There are 268 medical colleges in the country with an admission capacity of 17,000 students. Many research centers have been set up in the country. Example, Indian Institute of Technology, Agriculture Research Institute, Indian Statistical Institute, National Physical Laboratory, Institute of Economic Growth and others. 38 agricultural universities have been set up in the country with a view of spreading technical education in rural areas. Community polytechnics have been set up. Till 2003, as many as 390 community polytechnics have been established. This impart technical education to 4.6 lakh rural youth. Two new IITs at Indore and Mumbai have started functioning from 2009 and 10. The new IIM, Indian Institute of Medical Management, at Shillong has started at its first batch from 2008 and 9. Even IIM has been started in our state Raipur. Indian Institute of Management. Development of research facilities. India has made some progress in the development of research facilities since 1950 to 51. There are about 2.5 million scientists and technicians in the country. In this regard, India has third place in the world. Now, the last part of in order to promote research in some social science, there are 4 prominent autonomous research organizations in the country. They are Indian Council of Historical Research, Indian Council of Philosophical Research, Indian Institute of Advanced Study, Indian Council of Social Science Research. So this institution tells us how much India had progressed, how many these research centers are there, that much the students are learnt. They are practicing their studies in this research center and proving themselves also to be a good scientist and good research person. The challenging proposition education. Yes, education is a challenging proposition. It is not so easy as we are thinking. The Constitution has a provision for free and compulsory education for the children between the age group of 6 to 14 years. Even then, 20% are still not going to the school. This points towards the challenges posed by the education policy. The challenges are as follows: gender bias. There is still a significant gender bias in offering the opportunities of education to male and female children. When we talk about the outer side state studies, girl childs are not getting preference, whereas male child getting opportunity to prove themselves at every corner of the country. The enrollment ratio is relatively low for the female candidates, and their dropout ratio is considerably high. Low SS level in rural areas. There is a high degree of disparity in SS of education. The SS level is considerably low for the rural population compared to the urban population. In rural areas, still the research development is needed for the education of the children. Still it is stagnating. Privatization. There is a growing need towards privatization of education. It makes education expensive. Less government expenditure on education. The government has failed to fulfill its commitment of spending nearly 6% of GDP on education, while actual expenditure has been around 3 to 4% only. Government intervention in the education and health sectors. Government intervention in the education and health sectors is necessary because of the following reason. Education and healthcare services create both private as well as social benefits. Both private and social public institutions are needed to provide these services, and government must keep its control on them. Expenditure on education and health institutes are important for the growth of a nation. The private providers of education and health services need to be regulated by the government. So these are the various human capital formation, students. So this was the chapter human capital formation. I hope you have understood the chapter. Thank you for attending the class. Have a nice day.